I am a police officer in the United States of America, and these are my stories. I've been a police officer for just under a decade, and there are so many stories that it's hard for me to even remember. But even having all the stories that I have, some are easily forgotten, and some just haunt you for the rest of your life. This is one of the haunting stories. Now, several years ago, there was a Netflix series called 13 Reasons Why. And in my city of just under 400,000 people, in a square area that is the size of Rhode Island, we had a large uptick in suicides. Now, this series, the disappointing thing was it glorified the idea of suicide. It made it okay. Now, if your brain is fully developed, if you're 25 years old and you want to make a choice, I can't stop you from making a choice. I can't stop you from understanding the massive consequences that your family goes through, that your loved ones go through, your friends, the people that you think don't care, that it impacts the most. Suicide is a very selfish act. Now, this was not someone who was 25 or 20 or even 18. This person was 13 years old. 13 years. That's barely old enough to even understand what the world is. Now, there's one thing that I know for a fact in life, and that is we have only one. Just one life. That's it. It doesn't matter how tough your life can be, there's always the ability for a better day tomorrow. Now, this girl didn't have a rough life. I talked to her friends, her family. She was very well loved, and she had been planning this for a very long time. I'm not going to be super detailed about this call. It's rough for the family, it's rough for me and my family, and it's really hard on the people that this girl brightened up. Because that's the thing that people don't realize is even at your worst time, you could still be the light to someone else. So this 13-year-old girl, she was found downstairs laying on the floor of her parents' bedroom. She had taken multiple bottles of antidepressants that were prescribed to one of her parents. We're talking over 100 individual tablets that she consumed. Now, not only did she consume these tablets, but she also decided to shoot herself in the stomach with a shotgun. Now, I'm not sure exactly why she did both. Anybody can theorize and say, I'm sure she took the pills in case she was afraid of pulling the trigger and she really wanted to make sure that it was all done. Now, again, she had been planning this for a very long time. In her room, she had over 20 handwritten notes, each from a different time because they were all dated, used in different pen inks and pencil, and they were laid out neatly in a grid on the floor. There are things that I'll never forget. I'll never forget what she was wearing. I'll never forget how her body fell on the ground. She was laying face up, her head slightly turned to the left. Her eyes were open. There's one thing that the movies always get wrong, the TV shows always get wrong, and that is the true look of death. It's haunting. It absolutely is haunting. It's even more disturbing when it's from someone so young. Now, she's not the youngest person I've ever seen dead, The youngest death investigation I've ever been on was an 18-month-old, which is pretty hard in itself. But this person chose to go down a path to end their own life. Now, where I'm from, we deal with every death investigation, every suicide, every natural death, every unnatural death, the homicides, the assaults that end up to be deaths, just every death that's not in a hospital or something called Comfort One. Comfort One is when you're dying, you're terminally ill, you have months to live, you're in a hospice, and you specifically give paperwork to the fire department and the medics that say, hey, here is my end-of-life care plan. Other than that, we, a department where on shift we have as little as 22 people in a city of 400,000, we deal with every death outside of those two instances as police officers. Now, if a suicide is considered fishy or suspicious, then it may be looked at by a detective. This one was not. It was clear. It was we could understand what the intentions were. And the sad thing is as much as we talk to the parents and the friends and everybody who had gathered while we were investigating, the sad thing is everything that this 13-year-old had set up to either say she was sorry or to blame someone for something, but everything she did was for this terrible dramatic effect. Now, she was being picked up by her grandmother, and her grandmother came in through the front door, called out for her, didn't know where she was, looked around the house, thought the notes on the floor were weird, kept calling out for her with no response, and then found her downstairs in her parents' room. Now, we walked through this house 100 times, in and out of the house 100 times, and only as I came back in after talking to her father did I see a note on the door. The note on the door was inside of a reef. Now, this was summertime. A reef is a little odd on the front door, but there was a note within the reef, and it said, "Look downstairs." So it's sad that someone would put their family in a situation to see something, to see this extreme death, shot to the stomach, multiple pills to make sure the job is finished. I don't know. It's something that was so impactful to investigate that it will stay with me absolutely forever. Now, my goal of these stories is not for you to feel sorry for me. It's not for you to feel sorry for anybody. My goal in this channel is to humanize the police officer, is to get you guys to understand what a police officer may go through. We do our jobs 99.9% of the time with 100% proficiency. And it only takes 0.1% to ruin our entire career. And right now, in 2020, it's important that people understand that there are real stories behind the badge. There are real people behind the badge. I don't care if you think police are racist, because they're not. I don't care if you think they're bad, because they're not. Are there some bad cops? Sure. Just like a large organization, teachers' unions. Are teachers bad? People would say no. But there have been plenty of cases where there are teachers who are sleeping with students, or teachers or gym teachers abusing students, but people wouldn't say that teachers are bad. They would say that one teacher was bad. So my goal of this channel is just to give you these stories. Most of them are negative. Some of them are positive. What you have to realize is there's a heavy weight and burden placed on the shoulders of the police. And it's tough sometimes on that individual. You don't know what they're going through that day. So hopefully you understand a little bit more as we explore a lot of the calls that I have personally been on. Now, I can ask you at this point to subscribe to the channel, and that would be nice. I would really like to grow this channel and educate more people about real stories that happen to police. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate your time.